Hey friends, Terry Knickerbocker here with some books in Brooklyn, and I got a lot on my mind about art and success and destiny. Like, what do you want to do with your life? And what I notice is I think there's a lot of fear in culture right now, appropriately. There's some scary things going on in politics and all around the world and even close to home. Economic uncertainty, there's a lot to worry about. And in my opinion, we still have opportunities to do something with this life that we've been given. And if you feel called to act, that it turns you on to be an actor, you love living out stories, then I ask you, what is your idea of success? What would it feel like to you to be able to say, yes, I feel like I'm a successful actor? And for a lot of people, and this makes me sad, success means I have a job. I want to be a working actor. That means I want to make my money from SAG-AFTRA and equity. But what if your work isn't any good? And I think that to me is the thing to think about. So why these books? Well, I have all these books on the bookshelf, and I think there's cool stuff here. Like, this is Maria Irene Fornes, an amazing Cuban playwright who I had the amazing gift of working with. Very underrated. She wrote Fefu and Her Friends. She wrote Mud. This is Promenade and Her Friends. She used to teach playwriting at INTAR. Here's the big guy, Shakespeare, A Life in Drama. Joe Papp. Do you guys know who Joe Papp was? Joe Papp founded the Public Theater, right? Shakespeare in the Park. He was an amazing producer, an impresario, who happened to help this guy make something. Tony Kushner, Angels in America, Part 1 and Part 2, hosted by the Public Theater after it started at the Eureka Theater in San Francisco. Peter Brook, The Empty Space. He died a few years ago in his 90s, an amazing British director. This is his first book about theater, written in 1960-something. Peter Brook said, 1968, that the empty space, meaning the theater, the stage, the sound stage, the film set, is a place where anything can happen. That means wide-ranging, and something must happen, which means it's the artist's responsibility to create something that's compelling for an audience, which means quality. Here's another big guy, Stanislavski. He's kind of the big daddy or granddaddy of all Western acting, which is where the group theater came from after watching him. And, you know, just a couple of Greeks, like Sophocles. He wrote Oedipus, that's on Broadway right now. And Aeschylus, Agamemnon. It's kind of the roots of Western theater. So what am I saying? I'm thinking about a worthy life. What would make your life feel like a worthy life? One fellow, Friedrich Buchner, said, a worthy life is when your great gladness meets the world's great appetite. Something like that. That there's this thing that you love to do and that the world needs and wants and makes the world better. I think that would feel good to have a worthy life, which means you have to do it well. You have to love it, and if acting's your thing, great. But don't make the goal having a job. I think the goal really needs to be, I want to be good. I want to be the best actor I can be. I want to, at the end of my life, say, I told a lot of really great stories, and I did it well. I think if you do it well, you will be successful. If you make the best pizza in town, you're going to be a success because people want great pizza. In this atmosphere of anxiety and fear, a lot of people want shortcuts. They want things fast. It's kind of an Amazon Prime mentality or an AI mentality, like, I just need it fast. And I don't think you get to make something really good and also have it be fast. Steph Curry did not become the amazing athlete that he is fast. Beethoven didn't become Beethoven fast. Al Pacino didn't become Al Pacino fast. August Wilson didn't become the great writer, amazing playwright that he is and was fast. So if we can align ourselves and orient ourselves to what's really important to me is that whatever I do it well, that my brand becomes quality, and I focus on that. And if acting's your thing, that's going to take some time. And you have to be patient, and you have to be in the long game. You might have seen some videos with this wonderful former student, Yosef Kuznetskov, who came here. And I love Yosef's story. Yosef was a professional tennis player and then became a professional actor. He's been a member of Screen Actors Guild for 15 years, has a lot of IMDb credits, but was kind of stuck at that co-star, guest star level. He happens to specialize in like Eastern European gangsters. He's really good at that, playing the bad guy. And he was working on a show called Justified with another former student of mine, Boyd Holbrook, who was the main bad guy, and became obsessed with what Boyd was doing and asked Boyd, what he did. And Boyd said, well, he studied with me and he coaches with me. And Yosef came here just for the summer. That's all he was going to do, kind of give himself a little vitamin shot. To his credit, he recognized that, wow, I really need to learn how to do this well. I have talent, but I need to get craft to be the artist I want to be. And so he had to convince his reps, but your reps work for you, you don't work for them, that this is what he was going to do, that he was going to be in the dojo, and just graduated last year after spending 2.5 years here training. And he came out a much better actor and doesn't regret a bit of it. And he's such a great case study for what training means as an investment. I know that times are scary, but if you can stay the course and really invest in your talent, I think training is where it's at. Whether you come and study with us here in Brooklyn, I've got an amazing studio, amazing faculty, amazing community. A community helps, it takes a village. Or maybe you're someplace else. Just find a good class and commit to getting good. It'll make a difference. Then you'll have a body of work at the end of your life that makes you proud. That should be the goal. To see yourself as an artist, to be the best artist you can be, to find a community where that's valued, to not go for the quick fix. It doesn't matter if it's pilot season. It doesn't matter if you're an extra in a film that's not necessarily going to help you to become a better actor. To not try and impress other people who say, oh, you're an actor. What have you done that I might know? Man, I hate that question. It's none of their business. I invite you all to value your life and to be brave and to do what really matters to you, and don't care whether it matters to anybody else. It's your life. So maybe that's kind of a heavy topic, but I think the antidote to what's happening in the world right now is art and telling great stories that matter. And if you're going to do that, you need to be good, because otherwise the work isn't going to be relevant or legitimate. The question I'm being asked is, okay, Terry, that sounds all really fine and good, but like, I live in the real world and I've got rent to pay. I've got food I have to put on the table for me and maybe my family. And training costs money. I think that's true. Education means change. The fact that you might have this pebble in your shoe that says, gosh, I do want to become better. I don't know how to do it on my own. I'm not going to be happy if I don't get better, but how the hell am I going to make it work? I think where there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to make this happen, you'll find a way. You may have to make a living doing different things. I had a single mom from Chicago, and she really wanted to come here and study, and she did a GoFundMe. Send Monet to acting school in New York. And she got all the money, right? She just socialized that thing like crazy and put it out to everyone she knows and just asked, and she got. I had this woman from a huge family up in Buffalo, had no money, wanted to do this, was working in restaurants, and said, I got to do something else to make money. And she liked dogs. So she started a dog walking service and put posters all over her neighborhood and the neighborhoods around, and she would come to class with like 90 sets of keys because she had all the keys to everyone in her neighborhood, and she started to get other people, because she got so much business, walking dogs for her. So she was in class while other people were making money for her. They were making money for themselves and making money for her. I think being an entrepreneur is helpful instead of waiting for someone to give you money. But I think there's money out here. This is New York City. There's money. You just need to get yours. And if you really want this, you'll find a way. You really will. But you have to change something. If you're stuck, well, this is how I make money. I work in restaurants. I'm a server. It's going to be harder, right? So you may need to completely shift the paradigm. I think that's the way to do it. I think you have to really want it and believe it's going to happen and ask for it. And value yourself. You're probably good at something. Maybe you're a good organizer. Okay, so be a personal organizer and charge $75 an hour to, clean out people's closets. Maybe you like to take headshots. You're good with a camera, so tell your friends and start doing that. I think if you want something bad enough, you make it happen. It does take a kind of push and belief, but I don't think it's impossible. Maybe you need to save money for a while, so you need to be patient. And maybe you need to have 1 or 2 less cappuccinos a week, right? And that'll add up. Like somehow, something needs to shift. If you really want something and your current circumstances don't allow for it, you're gonna have to change something. But you can make it work. I know you can. That is ridiculous. Someone saying that they're 30 years old. My oldest student so far was 75 when he started. 75. And he just wanted to do it. And he's working. Like, the cool thing about acting is you're never too old. There's parts for literally every age from 2 days old to 97. Ian McKellen, doing work in his 90s, right? Judi Dench, doing work, she's up there. Maggie Smith, until she passed, doing it, you're never too old, right? When I go down to Atlanta, and I just came back from Vancouver, there are all these grandparents taking my workshop because they've decided to act, right? It ain't over till it's over. So I don't buy that I'm too old. You might be too old to play Juliet. She's supposed to be 14. Okay, so play the nurse. That's a good part. Never too late. It's never too late to make this life the life you want. I have a lot of people who, out of fear, or maybe how their families brought them up, right? There was like, oh, I wanted to act, but that wasn't cool in my family. Like they wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, but they always wanted to do it. And instead of living their life for their family, they decided to live their life for themselves and came to acting in their 30s, in their 40s, right? I mean, I think the work you do in your life should be something that the world needs, again, a worthy life, and something that turns you on and gives you joy. So that if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. I love teaching. I love coaching actors. And so I'm never tired when I do it. I always look forward to doing it. I learn so much from my students, and I feel very young inside, even though I've been around for a while. And it's because I get so much pleasure out of what I'm doing. It's never a drudge. It's always joyful. So I think whatever you do, and sometimes you could want to act and then you could decide it's not for you. That's cool too, right? You want to be a social worker, be a social worker. You want to train dogs, train dogs. You want to be a vegetable gardener, be a vegetable. Do what makes you happy. If you really do what you love, the money will follow, for sure. But if it's acting, get good at it. And you're never too late. You'll find the money. All these fears, that's fear. I'm too old, I'm too broke, I'm too whatever. There are too many actors, but there's only one of you. And so if you can really get good, then there'll be room for you, because no one else can do exactly what you can do. That would be my answer. Any other fears, objections out there? AI is scary. I think AI is also useful. It can be a useful tool. I was trying to figure out an itinerary for a trip I took last summer to Spain and Portugal. AI, I said, well, I got 2 kids and we like the beach and blah, 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 and came up with some really cool alternatives, So there are helpful things about AI, and there are also some very scary things about AI, and I think we have to be really careful about it. In terms of acting, they're using AI to write scripts right now, which is maybe a little bit scary and maybe useful, but I ultimately think the human factor cannot be replaced. Your soul, your heart, the unique combination of things that make your personality you, I don't think AI can come close to that. Maybe it can come close, but it can't duplicate it. So I, perhaps naively, am very hopeful that we will always need human beings to make art, and therefore to tell stories, to tell human stories, we need people. And I think that is something to hold the line on. Like, use AI for what it's good for, and use people for what they're good for. And making art and telling stories is ultimately, I think, best done by people. And therefore, I think it will be sustainable. I think if you get good at this, they're going to keep on needing you. And if they don't need you, then write your own story and make it yourself. Because I think self-generated content may be where it's at, instead of waiting for the business to think you're cool. You just tell the story you want to make and keep pushing it and believing in it. That's how Rocky got made. That's how A Bronx Tale, Chaz Palminteri, got made. That was a one-man show by an older guy, by the way. That was a play at American Place Theater that Chaz Palminteri made, guy. De Niro came and saw it and said, okay, I want to make that movie. And you can be part of it. And it's an incredible movie. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky. Britt Marling, The OA. Like, make your own work, friends. Get good and make your own work. And don't let anybody tell you no. I love the work of Sandy Meisner. I must say, here he is. Really a genius. And it's the only work that I know that's foundational, right? When I went to NYU, great school for acting, we started with scene study, which made sense at the time, but now I realize it doesn't make so much sense. Why would you start piano lessons with Beethoven? No one does that. Why would you start ballet with Swan Lake? Nobody does that. But a lot of acting schools start with Tennessee Williams. So Meisner, being, in addition to a man of the theater, was also a trained pianist, came up with this thing that he called the repetition exercise, which are some beginning scales that ultimately develop into a technique that will cover any kind of material. You're not just stuck doing scales. You want to do great material. So I love the Meisner technique because it is so foundational, it's so practical, it works. I think it's healthy. It deals with you and your imagination, and it calls for a certain kind of rigor and practice. It makes a practice out of this. And it's cumulative. It's like learning how to juggle. You don't start with 10 balls in the air. You might just start with one. And as you start to get good at one, then we add a second. And then that's challenging for a while. And then that starts to feel more comfortable. And so then we add a third. So you're constantly stretching the boundaries of what's possible. So I like the Meisner work. It doesn't matter what work you study. Maybe Strasberg's for you. Maybe Stella Adler's for you. Maybe Grotowski's for you, maybe Uta Hagen. Like, there are lineages of training, and they all go to the same place. They all hopefully take you to a place where you don't go, oh, that's Meisner acting, that's Lee Strasberg acting. You say, that's good acting. But I teach the Meisner technique because selfishly, it was the work that made the most sense to me. And it really worked, and it solved all my how-to questions, and it works very well for most people. But I don't think it's just about Meisner. I think it's also about the school, the teachers, the community, and they have to care, and they have to be about excellence. You don't need a license to teach acting, so anyone can call themselves an acting teacher, and I would hate to see you waste time in a mediocre school. You kind of get what you pay for. So are there places that are cheaper than my school? Absolutely. But, cheaper is not usually best. I have really amazing faculty and amazing staff and an amazing facility here in Brooklyn, and all that costs money. We're not trying to get rich here, but we are trying to pay a good, decent salary to the people who work here. It's cheaper than grad school, and we're trying to be as good as grad school. So I think we're a good school, but you should go to a school and try it out. Go meet the people, go talk to people who went there, see what the word is on the street. Come to the place and see how you feel in the place. Like, it should be a good fit.